welcome to another edition of the Tigers Down Under. I'm your host for the evening, Lauren, and with me I have Alex. How are you going, Alex?
I'm good, thanks, Lauren. How are you?
I'm good. It's been an interesting week. So, it was another disappointing result for City in a game they really needed to win, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dan and I spoke last week on the podcast about how important it was to get the win against Wigan, um, being so close on the table and only having one win for the season. It was really important to kind of get back to winning ways and really sort of kickstart the season. And it wasn't to be, which is really disappointing. I guess the manner of the draw wasn't as concerning as it could have been. I thought the way we played was quite good, quite promising. The way we started the game in particular, there was a lot of really great link-up play, a lot of great passing between the team, which was great to see. And I think it was Tafazoli, maybe, who during the international break, in some ways a bit, you know, um, uh, exaggerated in his comparison of City to Man City in terms of Guardiola taking a while to get his style of play working for Man City, and then they obviously then went on to win two league titles. Um, but I guess his point was more that it would take a while for McGann's tactics to sort of settle in with the side and his style of play to really to start working and see results in terms of players needing to get up to a certain level of fitness and start getting used to a certain style of play. So it's great to see the signs of that starting to come through in the way that the team is playing and really playing the ball around. But obviously quite disappointing still that we're not starting to see some results coming out of it. Grzycki with another great goal, which was great to see, really promising signs that he sort of started to get going during the season. Um, and also Bowen obviously on the score sheet again as well, which is great. I guess from a concerning point of view, Eves still not with the goal and had quite a few good chances. It wasn't as if he wasn't getting into the right positions. Which, on one hand, you sort of say, look, it's a positive that he's getting in the right positions and being in a chance to miss those chances rather than not even creating them to begin with. But then it's still quite concerning that his confidence just looks to have deserted him. He had one chance in particular where he was running into the box to collect the ball, and there was no sort of strength to push off the defenders, which I guess is one of his hallmarks. And he just looked really sort of overwhelmed in the position that he was in because he was basically in a one-on-one with the keeper, and you could almost see his mind ticking over of how he was going to play it, and it's kind of concerning when strikers get to that place where they're overthinking things and not acting on instinct because in general strikers I guess are best when they're operating on instinct and can just put those finishes away because they know where it's going to go. And we saw some of the goals he scored for Gillingham last season were instinctive goals, and they were great to see. So I'm hoping, I just hope that that goal can come for him and he can start scoring for us because once he does, I think they'll come in a run of goals because I think once he gets his confidence back, he's doing everything else right.
Yeah, I mean, it started off as a good game, but didn't really end that way. So, on a more positive front, Callum Elder made his first start for City, meaning there's now two Aussies in the starting 11 for the first time since 2002, versus Darlington. It's also the first time ever for two that were actually born in Australia. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it was great. When the starting 11 was announced on the weekend, it was almost one of the first thoughts that went through my mind, and I tweeted out almost straight away that um, great to see Elder in the 11, but also great and significant from an Australian perspective that we had both Elder and Irvine in the starting 11. So we looked through the stats to see if it had ever happened before, because from my memory, I could only think of a couple of Aussies to have played for City in Allsop and Garcia, but um, there were a few others that we found sort of pulled up in the stats. I think Caceres is one of the ones that was playing in that game against Darlington, and he was born in Argentina, which then means that yeah, Elder and Irvine starting together was the first time we had a Melbourne-born and a Sydney-born City player at the same time, which was quite a unique and obviously quite exciting experience for us as Aussie fans. And look, Elder played a really great game. When we signed him from Leicester, there was a lot of sort of pessimistic talk about his performances. I think he was in the Ipswich side that got relegated last season and, wasn't getting selected half the time, which it's a bit concerning when a player's not getting selected in a side that's, quite clearly the worst side in the division. But look, he was really impressive. He was linking up really well with Grzycki. He was giving overlapping runs. He was getting back and defending really well. Look, there was nothing there that concerned me at all, and I really hope that he'll start again on the weekend against Luton Town. So, yeah, a great debut for him, and long may it continue. It's great to see a couple of Aussies representing in the city side.
Now, as you've already mentioned, City is versing Luton Town this weekend, who are only 1 point above us at the table. So it's another big game for the boys. How do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, look, I mean, Luton have been playing well. One of those sides that they've gone on a double promotion in the last couple of years, so they've got a bit of momentum behind them, playing well as a unit, and they have 2 wins in their last 3 games as well. So they're really sort of starting to gather a bit of momentum and move up the table, which in a way, it's a bit worrying for us to come up against a side in form and with a bit of confidence, but at the same time, it's a challenge that we've got to look as an opportunity to overcome and get the 3 points. Um, as you say, they're only 1 point above us in the table, so in terms of table positions, they're quite close, and it should be a very winnable game. And as a promoted club, you'd sort of hope that our caliber of players and quality of our players is a lot higher than theirs, and we can actually go into that game with a little bit of confidence and really hope that we can knock them off. And it's a really big opportunity. The Wigan game was an opportunity that we missed, but this is another big opportunity to make amends instantly and set things right and start moving back up the table.
Would you make any changes to the lineup or put out the same 11?
Yeah, I mean, the only one that I would look at making a change is potentially up top, but I just don't know if we have any other options. I think Magennis could potentially do a job. Um, I just, it's, one of those situations I think we just need to keep giving Eves that chance. It's not as if we're not scoring goals at all. We're still getting goals from the wingers. Would be good if, Irvine and a few others chipped in with goals as well, but it's not as if goal scoring is our concern at the moment. So if that was the case, I'd probably be looking to make changes up top and start looking for other opportunities and possibilities. But really, our concern at the moment is, not conceding goals. And as much as the Wigan equaliser was a really well taken goal, we just really need to start focusing on keeping clean sheets because I don't think we've kept one yet this season, which is a bit of a concern. So if we could try and focus on locking that down and keeping a clean sheet and let Bowen and Grzycki do the work at the other end and if it happens and Eves gets a goal, that's even better.
And what's your score prediction for the game?
Um, it's hard to confidently tip a City win in this one. So I do think it's probably going to be another draw as our best case scenario with a 1-1. But look, if we can do what I'm hoping and keep a clean sheet and scrape out a 1-0 win or something like that, I think I'd be pretty happy with that.
Hopefully they do get a win. Um, Now it is time for our weekly football flashback, and I still maintain we need a jingle for this section. So last week you and Dan talked about the big win over Millwall back in 2012, and a week later it was Leeds' turn to get turned over. It was our first win at Ellen Road since the 80s. So what are your memories of that game?
Yeah, it's quite funny. Every week I sort of look at games to look back on and remember fondly, and I sort of look at a few of our big seasons of promotion or staying up in the Premier League. And so it's quite funny that, it's sort of lining up with this week. The only really sort of significant win that I could see was that win over Leeds, which was obviously the week after that Millwall result we talked about last week. So it was a little purple patch for City. We'd beaten Bolton, we'd beaten Millwall, and we rocked up to Ellen Road full of confidence. And it was another win for the boys, which was great. And as you mentioned, it was our first win there since the 80s, so it was a really significant one. Interestingly, from that season, I think that second win over Leeds at home, where it was probably the best that we played all season, is more fondly remembered because of the way we played. And so even though it was only a 2-0 result, it was still sort of seen as sort of the game of the season, I guess. But this win at the start of the season that really sort of um, gave us that self-belief that we really were competing right up at the top of that table was such a significant one. And, Elmo getting his first goal for the club, Corin and Faye on the score sheet again for consecutive weeks. and coming back from 1-0 down, which, in a Roger East refereed game for City is never surprising that there's a controversial refereeing decision going against us. Um, which is also, it's great to see in the character of the side that we can come back from a goal down and still win the game, and in that season that was there's all these boxes that you tick on the way to really sort of having that self-belief that promotion's possible. And I think swatting aside smaller teams, or struggling teams, as I guess Bolton and Millwall were that season, is one of those boxes. But another is sort of having that caliber and that metal to when you go behind in a game or when you travel to a really imposing ground, still come away with the 3 points. And we were able to tick that box against Leeds. So it was a great game at the time, and it's a great game looking back on it. Interestingly, from the previous week, we made one change. Corey Evans came in for Olofinjana, and Evans was another one at that time. He was part of that, Manchester United core that we'd brought in, which was, the Robbie Brady, the James Chester, Joe Dudgeon, and Corey Evans, who all, Cameron Stewart as well, who I don't know if he was with us at that point. He may well have been. Um, all really sort of formed that core of the side that we built when we were on a really tight budget, and they kind of stayed with us all through that promotion season and played an important role. Brady, I think, came back in a bit later in the season around the same time as Mylar. Um, but it was a great result, and really sort of set us up for what was going to be a great season to come.
So, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Tigers Down Under. Hopefully you'll tune in again next week.
Come on, City.
You've been listening to the official Hull City Australia podcast. For more discussion, join us on Facebook in the Hull City AFC Australian Supporters Group, or follow us on Twitter at Hull City AFC Oz. The music was created by Amber and Black.
This is on fire. We're going higher and higher. There's no turning back 'cause you're out.